Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. And today we are joined by Sophie Musumeci, the creator of the Wealthy Woman System. Sophie helps female coaches scale their businesses to $10,000 to $40,000 a month in just 90 days without the hustle. As an award-winning entrepreneur, Sophie empowers heart-centered coaches to package, price, and sell their services effectively, allowing them to focus on their passion while building financial success. Her proven system is designed to attract high-quality clients and create consistent income, transforming coaches into thriving business owners. I've asked Sophie to join us here today to share her story and secrets to success. So, Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you, Carol. Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We were just talking about it. I squeezed in a workout. I feel amazing for it, and I love myself and who I am and the life I'm living. And I'm happy I get to sit down with wonderful people like you. Now, before we get into your system and this, how did you even get into this? Do you come from a family of business coaches? Is this why? Are you just passing down family trade secrets of generations and you're passing the book on? How does this work?
That definitely would have been an easier pathway for me had that have been the case, right? So definitely not. So I grew up in a very small, beautiful town in country South Australia, and population was 400, and we lived out of that town. So my dad was a very hardworking man, and my mum was a stay-at-home mum majority of the time, the odd job that she had. But for me, I really landed into entrepreneurship after I had children. I managed to leave the farm when I was 18. Actually, I was asked to leave school. We won't discuss the reasons around that, but I left school when I was in year 11. And I had an opportunity. Dad said, if you're going to leave school, you have to get a job. And that was the thing. And I was like, okay. So I went and got 3 jobs. And then from there, working either in the vineyard or in the hotel or at the pub, I was able to learn as much as I could. And very quickly, even at only 17, was asked to lead teams and manage and take over a bit of responsibility. And I thought, this is really cool. I like this. And so from there, I was asked by a friend, do I want to move to the Gold Coast? And I said, yes. I'd never been to the Gold Coast, but I was like, yes, I'm very much like a yes person. Let's just see what happens. And so I moved there, went into real estate, and lived on the Gold Coast for about 7 years and got into a few different, went back into retail and moved around a few different jobs. But again, the same thing. I would always be really curious as to how things worked and what my manager was doing. And I'd always be the one that put my hand up and said, do you need help? I can do that. I'd stay back late or come in on the weekends because I just loved learning on the ground.
That can-do attitude goes a long way.
Yeah, it's really something that we look for in the people that we hire today as well. And then from there, I was lucky enough to get a role that brought me to Sydney, which I then met my husband at the races, and that is a story for another day. And we found ourselves both in corporate roles. I found myself in a job earning $250,000 with no high school certificate, let alone a degree. And because I just worked and I really learned how businesses run from the inside and became very valuable to people. So we were both in corporate roles, and then all of a sudden we got pregnant. And we're like, oh, okay, hadn't really thought about what this would look like. And having a stay-at-home mum myself, that just wasn't really an option because Sydney is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And also we wanted to not be poor. So I was like, okay, we'll put Toby into childcare. And we had a nanny. So we had a nanny a few days a week, and he went to childcare the other days. And that's what everyone did. I didn't know one person that ran their own business. And that's what I did until that day I came home and I realized that my beautiful boy had more of his nanny's mannerisms than he had of either
Mm.
mine or Daniel's. And
Mm.
I tell you, Dara, I know you've got
Yep.
kids now. That was a really hard
Yeah.
moment.
That
I remember
stings.
walked to the fridge, opened the door, grabbed a bottle of wine, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I just didn't know what else I could do because there was everyone around me. Both parents were working. Everyone had their kids in childcare or with a nanny. So it wasn't until I had my daughter Stella that my first business was actually in a network marketing company because I saw that there was people that were running businesses from home and they were living a more flexible lifestyle. And I thought, that's really cool. I want that. And so I used the nooks and crannies of my day when Stella would sleep. She was a good sleeper. And I built a business that paid me about $5,000 a month. But very quickly, I got bored with that because it's like the same old, and I could never switch off. And I felt like I wasn't using all of the skills that I had in
Mm,
built up in my career, I thought I was like limiting. So I started my next business, which was a networking company where we had groups. It was like a B&I, but just for women. And we
right.
had 13 groups all around Australia. And that was really great. But what I found is that even though we'd bring these beautiful, talented women together and they would get some referrals and they were getting support, I found that if they didn't have a consistent and predictable way to get clients online, that they were having to go back into a job that they didn't love and their dreams would be gone. And
Mm,
so I made it my mission then. I thought, okay, here's the real problem that I need to help women solve. How do you use the skills that you've already got? How do you then help other people in the world? And how do you live a more flexible lifestyle without sacrificing your income? And so from there, I decided to launch the Wealthy Woman Mastermind. And we're coming up 5.5 years, and we've had over 1,000 students go through
wow.
the program. So yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. You just were like, oh, that's the problem. They just need to know this. And the pearly gates opened up and the angels came down and sang their, oh, they just need to know how to get consistent, predictable ways to get clients online. Let me show you. And it was just piece of cake and slam dunk. And is that, it was just, was it easy peasy? That is that?
Absolutely. End of talk. No, of course it wasn't. It was definitely tough because I had to retrain myself. There was a whole industry that I didn't understand because it's very different when you are running companies from the inside and you're not the person who has to come up with the marketing strategy and the sales strategy and be the face, right? So all of a sudden, here I was, whilst I'd learnt skills from the other businesses that I'd also created, I still didn't know a lot about online marketing. And so that's when I had to find mentors that would be able to not only help me in my own business, but that I could learn from and train with to be able to then look at how can I take those learnings and bring it into something that was custom built for women. And I say women, and I'm generalizing. There's a lot of men who also are, prominent in the family. And I came up against quite a lot and I invested heavily. I've invested probably close to $500,000 in my development. I've worked with guest mentors around the world. I've traveled and gone to America and lots of different places. But I really struggled with a lot of the mentors that I had were very successful men who were young, didn't have families. And so that whole hustle culture, they could do that. They could work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, right?
Yep.
Whereas for me, I'm like, I can't do that. So I need to learn in a way that I can filter through, grab the gold, and then take that into what I know to be true, and then create something that could be more sustainable for women to be able to be more present with their family. And so I based it first around me. I had to be that social proof and show others that you can do this. And that's been really great. So just simplifying complicated systems and funnels and the tech and the jargon that's out there and showing people you can cut out all of that stuff. You actually don't need it. And here's exactly what to do. Because a lot of the women that I work with, they don't want to be millionaires. They don't want to have a 7-figure coaching business or even a $500,000. They just want to have $20,000, $30,000 a month, and they want to be able to work relatively part-time and be there for their family and really make a difference for other people.
Yeah. And that's, I think, what a lot of people want, because money itself is a vague thing. It's stored potential. It's like a spring. It's stored energy. So the idea of having a giant bank account, it's what you can do with that. And that's, I think, really powerful and important. What would you recommend to someone who's struggling or starting out right now?
In their business, I think there's a few things. So one would be, ask yourself at the core, do you really believe that you can do this? As in, if all the conditions were right, if you had all the systems and all the support, but at the core, do you believe that you can be this business owner or this coach, or depending on what niche you're working in? Because everything stems from belief. Like, I believed that I could create something that would allow me to be there for my kids, to be the mom that I wanted to be, but also to be financially independent. And because I had that belief, is the thing that drove me to never give up. Like when things didn't work, or I had a 0 month, or when things weren't clicking together.
Mhm.
At the core, I knew that I could do this. I just had to find a way. And that
Mm.
resilience to keep going and keep being curious and keep learning, I knew that there was something more for me to learn in order for me to achieve that. So that's the first thing, would just be connecting with yourself. Do you really believe you can do this? And if you don't, that's okay. But that's going to tell you where you need to start. A lot of people go, oh, I need to try this funnel. I had a beautiful call with a couple yesterday, and they've tried every funnel you can think of.
Yep.
VSL, books, lead magnets, group, short form funnel, long form, like all these different things. And they're asking me, do I think that they should do a DM funnel? And I said, I don't think you should do any of it. I think at the core, and we just got to strip all of the back and stop making the reason why we're not want to work, the reason why we're not where we want to be in our business because of something external to ourselves.
I agree 100%. I've always said that business is very Shakespearean because in all of Shakespeare's plays, the main character fell victim to their greatest flaws that they failed to recognize and address. I feel that's exactly what happens with business owners, that, and myself included, all my shortcomings are things that I fail to address and look at for myself. I think that's incredibly powerful. I've been working with Michael Gerber, the author of E-Myth, for about the last year. His back room, say the guy snuck in the back to help fix, because he talks about a three-legged stool, lead gen, lead conversion, client fulfillment. And we've been helping with a lot of that. And one of the things that I've learned over the last year, just seeing him interact with other people and clients, is almost exactly what you're saying. Is you give people templates, fill in the blanks, this is that, but if there's no soul and heart to it, people can tell, in the sense that, like, when you invite people to go out to a movie, it's not about the money. It's, hey, you want to do something Friday night? Hey, do you want to go do something? Maybe we can go grab a bite to eat and then we'll go here. It's not, hey, do you have $100? Hey, listen, it's 50% off. Let's do this. It's about the thing. And when people come to a business, they have a problem and they're coming to get it fulfilled. And if you're not enthusiastic about the problem, they can tell that authenticity. And I know that it can be hard to do through staff, but there's an energy to places. Like, we've all been to restaurants where waiters are just clocking hours, versus ones where it's like, that place is fun. And people love that. And that's a great vibe and energy. That it's an intangible. And that intangible is really tough to emulate. And I think that's what you're speaking to here, that you have to have confidence in what you're doing. You have to have a belief. You have to really feel the passion and the mission in your heart and soul. And because it's gonna convey through. Like, you can automate garbage, but all you have is automated garbage. What is it? You can have, Jim Rohn says, if you have an idiot and you motivate them, now all you have is a motivated idiot. What they need is an education to point them in the right direction, and then, motivated or not, eventually they'll get there. And I think that's what you're saying, is that if they're really trying to do something they care about, and it's a difference too, because you might care about baking pies, but you don't care about making sure kids have a memorable birthday party. And if you're selling pies for birthdays, even though you love baking pies, there's still a bit of a disconnect. I don't know. Do you agree with that? I think that's a leading question.
Yeah, the energy and the frequency that you bring into everything that you do as a business owner, or everything that you do in life, is what will attract or repel people towards you. So the couple I was speaking with yesterday, they got themselves into a point where business is tough. Like, they are just scraping by, and they've been doing this for years. So that hard, dense energy and the frustration and the just scraping by, like, that's a very low vibrational energy. And even if you're faking it in your lives and what you're putting out there, there's just an energetic energy there that is low and dense. And so they're attracting a lot of people who are broke, or they can't afford it, or they need extended payment plans. And I'm like, because that's exactly where you are right now. So in business, we need to be able to rise out of our current circumstances and elevate our frequency and our energy and our belief systems, so that we can then attract people at that level, because who we are is who we attract.
So we've addressed some of the wooey woo-foo stuff. Like, you got to believe in yourself, you got to have a mission, the wooey woo-foo. What are some of the more practical, specific skills and behaviors that you think are important to improve and develop?
I think definitely your ability to focus. One of the biggest reasons why I see people not where they want to be in life, and specifically in business, is because they just keep chasing the next thing. And the goal here really is to become masterful at one thing, because most strategies out there can work. And if it's worked for someone else, then it means it works. So the thing that is the differentiator here is you. And so what I see is we all have the same amount of hours in a day, but that doesn't mean we're all focusing them in on the right things. So by being able to focus in on the right things, it allows you then to get the biggest growth. Like some people I chat with and they say, oh, they got success, say on Facebook groups, which is something that we teach. And they go, and then we went to LinkedIn and we went to Instagram, we went to TikTok, and they're wondering why they're not getting any results. And I'm like, well, you've got diminishing returns. It's you are unable to be masterful at that many things versus just become really good at one thing. Like for us, it's Facebook, right? We've just hit over 30,000 women in our Real Entrepreneur Women's Facebook group, which is
That's
just
awesome.
for
What's the name of the Facebook group? Group name?
Real Entrepreneur Women. It's for coaches and consultants.
Got it. 30,000. Congrats.
And whilst we do put content on other platforms, everything we do, all of our strategy, all of our time is about bringing people into our group, giving them value, building trust, building connection, and then providing them with a really clear pathway to solve the problems that they have, which is ultimately come and work with us. So by just becoming really focused on becoming the best at doing that, and then tweaking, making little shifts and little tweaks in that process, it has allowed me, like I work 22 hours a week.
Yep.
And I have been able to maintain that as we've grown, and I have a team of 16 at the moment. It's just focus.
Yeah.
Pick thing. If it doesn't work on Facebook, it's not going to work on LinkedIn. Or if it doesn't work on LinkedIn, it's not going to work on Instagram. It's not the platform that is the thing that's slowing you down. There is something to do with your message. There is something to do with your offer. And there is something to do with how you're showing up that is not building that trust and that connection with your audience. Or most likely, you're focusing on just putting content out there and waiting for people to come to you versus you going and focusing on lead acquisition, which is leads are oxygen, right? If I can give you this one. So think of it this way. What happens, Daryl, when you squeeze an orange?
Right.
Juice comes out, right? And if you keep squeezing that orange, what ends up happening?
Eventually it runs dry.
Right? And that's exactly what happens. In the beginning, people get started and they get all excited and they focus on leads or they focus on speaking to people. And then they start to get calls booked into their calendar or they start to make sales and they stop getting more oranges. Right? Your leads, your oranges. You have to have an inflow. I call it the orange effect. You have to continually be buying oranges or getting them for free, but you have to keep having oranges. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a drought.
Yep.
That's like oxygen. Leads are oxygen for your business.
Yeah. I feel like it's a dirty secret, or the untold secret is that sales gets a lot easier when you've got a lineup of prospects that are waiting to talk to you. You don't need to do the double backflip, pretzel twists, plural closing techniques, the 3-word close that get, when you've got a waiting list of people. I talk to the people all the time. I had a client, he's trying to get a webinar going and he did a webinar, made some sales. I was like, great. He's like, yeah. And then we'd spoken because I don't know when people listen to this, but we had spoken at the end of Q3 and I was like, that's great. When's the next one? He's like, oh, I'm not going to promote that webinar until next year. I was like, what are you talking about? So first off, you only got a 50% show up rate. So what about those 50% that didn't come? You know what I mean? And he's like, I don't want to abuse my list. And listen, I'm not all about hammering a list and because what you're talking about. But the other thing is he's got a free app that's getting downloads every day. So I was like, even if you never message your list again, you're getting like 10 plus people downloading your app and giving you their email every day. Why can't you invite them to the next one tomorrow? Do another one tomorrow. Let's do what? But what if you had a waiting list? One of the things that really made an impression, I'm just going to say this and then get off my soapbox. Elon Musk made $300 million. I'm going to say this. He made $300 million selling a product he had no factory to build and no team to help make. He had a minimum viable product and he did $1,000 down payment for proof of concept, generated such a massive flow of leads, so much word of mouth. people constantly signing up. He kept those leads flowing nonstop, and he used that to fund the Gigafactory, everything else. They got so lead, like you talked about, lead gen. It's having your finger on the pulse of the market. 100%. I'm so excited right now that we're talking about this. You're preaching to the choir. One more thing I want to mention. I think what you said is so great. You're talking about how scientific essentially you are. You have a singular process and you change and test one element at a time. And that's very scientific. That's very step by step. The other thing is you have a process. And I think that's fantastic. I don't know where I heard it, but I love this. It talks about the path to $1 million business is learning to sell a specific solution to a specific problem for a specific type of person. Yeah. And when you can do that, that's the whole how to make $1 million. Sell 1,000 people $1,000 product. Sell 200 people a $5,000 product. Sell 5,000 people a $200 product. But the key is that you have to have a consistent process, a step-by-step process that you do for that. Can you maybe explain or give an example of one, just an overview of what's a process that someone might try to experiment with?
So big fans of Facebook groups, right? Because Facebook group allows you to build a community around what you do. And it allows for people who are already interested in what you do to join and be part of it. So I love the Facebook group strategy. So the process that we use is we run paid ads on Facebook and Instagram with an invitation for them to come and join our group. So getting that lead flow working and getting quality leads, like that in itself is a process which requires expert support and diligence it's not just about trying one ad copy, but 50 ad variations. It's not just about getting the lowest lead.
Yes. Yes. Right? Yeah. So quick sidebar. I have a friend, he was doing over $500,000 a year and he went shopping with agencies and the agency promised him cheaper leads. They gave him cheaper leads that were less than 50% off, but his lead to buyer ratio was something like 20 to 40 days. And it took him almost 5-6 months to realize that it was the leads that he was getting were garbage. And that was what was killing his business because he started focusing on cheaper leads instead of lifetime customer value. And so that's a huge, I just wanted to emphasize that because that's a massive golden nugget. It's not about the cheapest leads.
No. And also I spoke with an agency, I won't say their name, a while ago. I was just curious to see what they were doing. They wanted a 35K upfront. Then they wanted 20% of our ad spend every month just to manage. We invest about 60K in a month. So that. And I was like, so they have no skin in the game for the results. It was crazy. It had nothing to do with the outcome. It was all to do with our ad spend. And they build the ads on their ads manager so that they hold you hostage, because if you want to leave, they've captured all of the data. They've built the audiences. You can't even leave them and then use the audience you've built to do retargeting or anything. Like, I was like, you are kidding me.
That's suicidal.
Oh, but people don't know this. So they're signing up thinking this is amazing. They're promising all this stuff. And this is why it's really important that we're getting totally off track here, but I think it's important that before you go and outsource something, that you understand it at the level. Work with someone who can teach you. Like I work with Shani Bennett. She is amazing. And she's been by my side since the beginning. She's a consultant in my team. She helps me with all of our media buying. And she works with a lot of clients. She's got clients doing millions of dollars a month. And for her, through working with her, so she works with you versus I learned so much. And now I know the questions to ask and I know how I want things done. Whereas a lot of people just want the part of their business that they don't enjoy. Take it off my plate, you do it. But they have no idea how to manage it or even to understand if that's right. So back to lead flow, you can chase the lowest cost per lead, but you don't know if that's a quality lead. Right. So we've just found the most stable way for us at the moment, and we're testing a few different lead magnets at the moment to see if we can bring our costs down. But the goal is to get a high quality client. For us, it is a woman who is in a career or she's already started her coaching business and she wants to transition her skills into becoming a coach and having her own thing, or she wants to get more consistency in acquiring clients online. So that's our ideal clients. From a process perspective, if we're looking at who's coming through and it's not the right person, we've got to go back to the front and change our message, change what we're offering. It's not ads that work or don't work. It's our messaging around what's being put in front of people. So Then once they come in, the next part of the process is that they get to experience the real entrepreneur women experience, which should be something they've never experienced before. They should feel like, whoa, where have I landed? Tweaking how we do that, whether we phone call them or how we accept them into the group, like just constantly refining that process to make sure that woman, when she picks up that phone, is blown away with, oh my God, this is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. This
I
feels
love
special. This feels unique.
Did you say you pick up the phone and call people?
We do.
Really?
I don't
No,
anymore.
but you actually talk to humans? I thought you just had money fly out of your laptop, like you ran ads and money just came. You actually have to talk. Somebody has to talk to someone.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Sorry,
yeah.
I was shocked there for a minute. Yeah, no, I love it. So you're running ads, drive people to a Facebook group, which is an incredibly cheap way because you're keeping people on platform. Once they're in a group, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's so much easier to fish out of a barrel you filled with fish than it is to go into the ocean and wonder where all the fish are. So you put them all in a group. It's not an email newsletter, but it's essentially a type of place where you can interact. You have an onboarding process, you have a nurture process, and it's almost, they say realtors would do this. They would farm the original list owners and managers were at a real estate. They would pick a subdivision in a community and they would farm it. They would host a barbecue in the park. They would go door to door and hand out their brochure and meet people. And they would try to remember birthdays and anniversaries because they knew that people buy and sell homes when they're ready to, not when the realtor's ready to. So they had to be in front, top of mind, give reasons to stay in touch. Because there's something called recency bias people don't realize. And that's when you go to get your teeth cleaned or something, you don't think about the best dentist you've ever heard of. You think of who's most recent, who have I seen most recently, what's the most convenient. And that's where you want to stay in front of people. There's some people that are ready to move now and they're fast and you need to make a path for them, but then you need to nurture people as well. And then of course you have to think about long-term relationships. So if I install pools, that might be a big ticket sale, but once somebody has a pool, maybe they need it maintained. Maybe they need swimming lessons. Maybe they need new patio furniture. Maybe they need landscaping, someone to come once a month and mow the lawn. There's all sorts of back end auxiliary things. And what's really important is that relationship. So I got really excited because it sounds like people join your Facebook group and you help them. And I thought, wow, wow, what a way to reach to the computer and touch someone.
And the feedback we get is amazing because for a lot of the women that we speak with, they've never really opened up about their situation before or what's going on or their dreams or whatever, because maybe they don't have a supportive partner at home, or maybe they don't have a partner, or maybe they've tried it before and it hasn't worked out or whatever. So they're sitting in a lot of doubt or uncertainty. And then they see us and they go, oh, maybe this group, this sounds nice. Let me see what this is about. And then the next minute, someone calls them and says, hey, I just wanted to welcome you and make sure you got what you were looking for, because we have so many free resources in our group. We have 5 years of me going live nearly every single week with valuable training around like how to get your next 5 clients and my power of one method to grow to $1 million. And like we talk about mindset and sales and Facebook groups and all sorts of stuff. So we let them know that's available to them and then we send it to them directly. And then before you know it, normally within that same call, they're like, actually, I would like to know how you can help me more. And then we book a call with one of our sales team. So we've been able to, since we started doing calling of leads versus just letting them join the group and doing the messaging, that pathway, our lead to client cycle was 28 days. Whereas we've shortened that to 7 days.
That's fantastic. That's pure fire.
Yeah.
That's pure fire. You're spending ad dollars and making your profit from it before time's even back. You're essentially, people that don't get how important and powerful it is, that's essentially like a 400% ROI on ad spend, in the sense of even if all she does is break even, but knows that those clients are going to pay more later, she's made her money back at the end of the week and can respend it the next week and respend it the next week and respend it the next week. And then when those future payments come through. So if you're a gym, I'm just as an analogy, keep it simple. If your membership's $50 a month and the first month is free, you don't make money to the second month. For her, she's recouping that in the first 7 days. And then you get what I'm saying here, people? Like that's really powerful. Basically, you've got a license to print money. Every time I've been in that situation with paid ads, it's a license to print money. And really then it becomes, the problem almost becomes running out of people to target. It's like you suck all the money. They used to have this issue with magazines before the internet, direct mail, and that they would do magazine advertising. But after a while, they would have sucked out all the buyers out of a magazine. They would have to find a new magazine, and they have to rotate them and come back and let that magazine refill their subscriber base. Because after a while, you've gotten all the buyers that are going to buy in a short period of time. And I don't know if that's your experience. Social media is maybe a big pond, but
for us, we're lucky because our niche, like every day, women are waking up to the fact that they want more,
yeah.
right? And that they deserve more, and that they've got the skills to really help and transform the world. So every day there's new people coming in. We're not short at all. If anything, like we've got too many leads that we're at the moment. The biggest growth challenge that we have is hiring really like cultural fit people for our team. Because we can train them. You can train anyone in anything.
Right.
But cultural fit, culture is the number one thing, the most important thing to me.
I agree. And it's hard. It's really hard. So all these people that are coming in, what are the biggest mistakes that you see them making? If you've got new people coming in every week, I'm sure it's not 50 different things everyone's getting wrong. What are the 3 to 5 most common mistakes people making once they come and join?
So as in once they become a client or once they come into our group?
Once people are coming to you going, hey, I'm trying to run a successful business. So what is it? What are they doing wrong?
So there's 2 kind of stages of people that we work with. There's those that are right at the beginning and they haven't even got started. So for them, they just don't have a pathway. So they just don't know, how do I go from having a job to having paid clients as a coach? So for them, they're so green that they really just need that step-by-step pathway, and they need to see it, and it needs to be easy and simple, and something that they can follow. So for them, it's more just the belief in themselves that like, let's do this type thing, like now's the time. Whereas for those that have already been trying, it really comes down to a lot of people, even if they're doing $20,000, $30,000 a month, when we work with them, like their offer is normally all over the place, or it's so complicated because they have a low ticket offer of a $27 something, and then they've got a membership platform for $97 something a month, and then they've got a 2,500 thing, and then they've got a 12,000 thing on the back or whatever. Yeah. And it's so complicated. So for me, I'm a big fan of just high ticket. We don't do low ticket at all. We don't even do a downsell. So it's like you either work with us or you don't, because I know what it takes to get to where they want to go, and there's no like cheaper pathway on that. So the first probably biggest thing is just restructuring their offers and helping them to get out of doing one-on-ones. So there's only so many hours in the day, and they're repeating themselves on back-to-back calls anyway. So helping them to create a hybrid model, which allows them to leverage their time more, but also their clients get a greater transformation, because when you're doing one-on-one coaching, you only, as the coachee, you're only going to learn based on that one conversation. Whereas when you open up and do a hybrid model where you have access to also group coaching, you get to hear what Sarah asks and what this person asks and what this person asks and all these things you didn't even think of. And now because of that, you have exposure to 10 times the learning opportunity you would have if you were just doing one-on-one. So we help them to see that transition, that it's actually a good thing. Plus they get access to a community, whereas before it was just one person. So once they're able to see that is better for everyone, and it leverages their time because they're able to build curriculum and build that out more. It's just showing them how to make that transition. That'd probably be the first biggest one. And because
focus.
Because they want to do the things that they're good at. And when you're in a job, you do what you're good at nearly every day because you're hired as a specialist to do that job. But when you're running a business, you have to do all of the things that are going to make the engine work. And that means lead generation. And if you're not at a point where you can invest in paid ads, or we don't have proof of concept yet to be able to go to a more advanced strategy, then you're going to have to do organic lead generation. And in the beginning, it needs to be you, because before you can go and hire someone
to do it, figure it out.
And how are you going to mentor them and review their triage calls or their messenger conversations to give them tips and things that they could do better if you haven't even done it yourself? So I'm a big fan in do it yourself, work it out, get support so that you are learning how to do it properly, obviously, before you then go and hire a VA or an appointment setter or someone. So there's probably not one thing there, Daryl. Sorry, there's a
No,
lot.
I think, listen, I've been doing this in this game for a long time myself. I'm probably still making a lot of these mistakes, but what you're dropping is great knowledge. And I've talked about this before, but virtue is doing the common uncommonly. I have a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. I trained with Hickson Gracie. And in the Gracie family, especially if you look at someone like Hodger Gracie, I don't know if Gracie jiu-jitsu or not, but he at the world championship level, when Hodger goes to a competition, he's one of the most decorated world champions. He's one of the most decorated. He's not my favorite. I got my favorites, but as just pure stats on paper, he's one of the best competitors worldwide. And when he goes to compete, everybody knows what he's going to do. He's going to judo through you. He's going to get mount position, and then he's going to do a gi choke. Everybody knows what's coming. Listen, everybody knows what's coming. And he does it again and again and again to the world's greatest. And it's just fundamentals that are executed so incredibly well and focused that it's untouchable. And it draws crowds because people are like, look, I'll bet you $50 he's going to judo throw him. He's going to take mount and gi choke. No, not this guy. This guy is a 7-time world champ. There's no way he's going to. And look, he judo flipped him. He took him out and he gi choked him. How do you do that? Everybody knew what was coming and he did it anyways. So I just love what you said here. People probably want to listen to this call a couple of times to really let it soak in because there's a knowing. It's the concept repetition is the mother of learning. So I think you did great. Now, what about the future? Is AI making all this go away? Aren't we going to be replaced?
We are in the middle of building something very exciting with AI, and I cannot share it with you yet, but maybe we could do a follow-up part 2 once we've launched it and I can share more with you. But AI definitely has changed the playing field and in many respects for the better. The ability for businesses to now be able to get to market faster and to move through the things that used to take up days or weeks of their time and do it in like minutes is phenomenal. So it allows the playing field not to be even, but for more people to enter the arena because you don't have to have a lot of the skills that you would have had to have before, but you do need to know how to use it. And it is like a rabbit hole because I've spent a bit of money and work with mentors to learn what they know about AI because I am not an expert at it, but I'm fastly trying to do my best. And there is so many different things. So you can buy these programs where they teach you all this stuff with AI and then you come back and you go, I can't use that because I don't do that part and I can't use that and I can't use that. There's so much out there. I think it's really exciting. And then it's also on the other side, it's like the unknown, right? It's like where is it heading? Where does it stop? Does it stop? It's going to start replacing a lot of careers. And before it used to be when I was in corporate, being the knowledge person, like you're the expert, you got paid very well for being an expert in something. Whereas now anyone can be an expert in it because they can just ask ChatGPT and then they get all the information. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about AI?
Sure. Since you asked, I think we're going back to a meritocracy in the sense of we're losing the ordained greatness. So like you said, when you're an expert, you're ordained great. And then so you've got this status, therefore command high fees. I think it's going back to you're the expert and the executor because now expertise is going to be easier to achieve, but even it's going to be a long time, I think, before people can execute in the little details. Like everybody knows what a marketing funnel is now. That's great, but can you execute one? Can you execute one? Can you make all the data sing and talk? So it's where it's going back to why I say meritocracy. It's not just the knowledge, because this used to be the whole thing. The church was the only one that could read, and they were the gatekeepers of all the knowledge. But it's been in academia. You had to go pay these ridiculous fees to get to higher education, or else your future was. I just think we're leaving that sort of structure of the planet and entering into what's more. Everyone can almost have a fair starting point. What we have to avoid is trying to make sure everyone has an equal end point, because then you lose the competitive nature of it. And so I think everyone deserves an equal starting, but I don't think everyone should have equal endpoints. I think that you make your bed and you lay in it. And so that's what I think is happening in terms of that. A lot of people are saying like AI is going to become intelligent, yada, yada. There's emergent properties to lots of things. When I boil a pot of water, there's mathematical formulas to determine how long it'll take based off of how much energy, but we can't predict where the bubbles are going to go. And that's an AI. We can't predict some of the nuanced things, but a lot of people, I just think we are so much further from it to actually be another life form than people are hyping it up to be. A lot of the people that are hyping that up are ones that are also selling and working in AI, and not working in AI in the sense of, anyways, they're excited about their field. I think it's just a tool. They said that we wouldn't need farmers when tractors came out. Guess what? We still need farmers, but we don't need as many. They said that we wouldn't need math when calculators came out. Guess what? We still need math. They said we wouldn't need accounting and bookkeepers when spreadsheets came out with formulas. And guess what? We still have accountants and bookkeepers. Books came out. This is going to change and we're going to replace everybody. Guess what? We still have tax consultants and we still have, but it does reduce the number of people and the leverage that they get. And the same thing, like when spreadsheets came out, if you were, or even calculators, if you weren't passionate about what you did, I think the productive people became more productive, and the people that were just there collecting a paycheck had to go figure out what they really wanted to do with their lives. And I think that's more the area that we're going into there. I don't mean to get super philosophical, but there is a legitimate spark of life. What I mean is that when the sperm and the egg meet and the child is conceived, there is a flash of light that happens inside the womb. This has been repeated, recorded, demonstrated over and over again. I was shocked when I heard about it. And scientists are like, oh, it looks like it releases zinc. Okay, you show me the release of zinc that causes sentient life. Nobody can do that. And that spark of life has some sort of innate desire to it. Okay, let's call it a soul just for fun. And so unless we suddenly decide to let the bus decide where it wants to go and what it wants to do, that spark of light is going to want to steer the bus in certain directions for its own innate purpose that comes from wherever. And same with AI. I think it's just a tool. We've been creating tools forever, and this is just another tool. It's a great tool. It's a powerful tool. It's a really powerful tool. And so that's what I think is happening, right? I think that's part of what's happening. And I hope, my honest hope is right now what we're going through as a species is shaking off the shackles of parasitic relationships we've had with people, agencies, and let's call it civilization level infrastructure. Money printing is a great example, right? Money printing and the whole fiat currency thing. That just serves the oligarchs. It doesn't serve everyday people. You save your money, it becomes worthless every day. I'm pro Bitcoin. I don't think it's a panacea, but so in terms of where things going, I think the AI is going to be another tool. I think that we all have to stay on our feet. I think I'm actually involved in helping provide a solution to the housing crisis that provides food, power, water for people, helps them retire in 5 years or less because they can pay off everything in less than 5 years and then be power, water, food, self-sufficient to a certain degree. And I think that's really what's going to be important. There's Brian Johnson's got the whole don't die, because I think it's going to be chaotic as we move through this transition period. But on the other side, I think we're either going to end up in a dystopian future or a golden age that could last 1,000 years. I really, truly believe that. I think that's what we're on the precipice of. And people like you, the other coaches out there, most people on this planet are on the side of good. We just want to feed our kids, have some fun, be loved and valued by our communities because we help them. But there are psychopaths in the world. And the crazy thing about psychopaths is they're so psychopathic that it's hard to believe. Most people can't really assume, yeah, could you kill someone? They're like, no, I couldn't kill someone. What if they were going to hurt or murder your child? Oh, I'd fucking kill them in a heartbeat. People can't quite conceive, if that makes sense. There's a study done. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. I'm going to wrap it up. But at the university in my hometown where I grew up, Queen's University, they did a study on squirrels, and they found out that if a squirrel had been spotted stealing acorns another squirrel had buried, when it was burying an acorn, if a squirrel saw it, it would come back later and move it. But squirrels that never stole acorns didn't care and didn't pay any mind when someone saw them burying an acorn. And so it's because they couldn't fathom, you get what I'm saying? Because they weren't thieving themselves. Why would anyone do that? And so I think that's part of what we're going through here. And that's really it. Sorry, I didn't expect to be asked, but that's what I think. So
yeah, it's a whole new world that's opening up.
Yeah. But I think one thing that's going to become more important is human to human connections like this, uncensored, unadulterated connections. So, Sophie, you've given so much value today. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
Oh, that's an open question. We have actually just been building something, so maybe I could share a little bit, and I think it might help.
Do it.
Two things. One of the biggest problems that we see people face is having a partner who doesn't necessarily support their vision and what they're wanting to create. And I see a lot of talented women who don't back themselves fully because they feel that they need the support from a partner. And there's two parts of support. There's the financial support because maybe they don't have their own money because they have been looking after the kids. And then there's those that do have their own income because they are working, but still, we're still caught up in, I'm going to call it, as my kids call it, the olden days, where men typically said yes or no and then women followed. So a lot of that is still connected in a little bit. And so we created the Coach's Guide to Partner Support, which is leveraged from my background in change management and really being able to help people to figure out, what do you say to someone versus, hey, I want to start a coaching business and it's going to cost $10,000, but I really want to do it. And then we're like, what? And they've had a really tough day at work, or there's stuff that's going on, or they're not really present, or so helping them to know not only what to say, but how to say it, and also how to prepare for that conversation, because ultimately they need to understand the difference in asking for support and asking for permission. And I think that if they can understand in themselves that I'm not asking you for permission because it's my life, my vision, and I'm going to do what I want, but I would like your support and understanding, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have in order for us to get to that point where you are on board. But ultimately, I'm going to do this anyway. And I think that if we can help people, it's not just women, but for everyone, take that 100% personal responsibility for, if you want something, the only person that's going to hold you back is actually you.
Right.
I think that we'll see a lot of shifting in people blaming and going into a lot of low vibrational kind of stuff. So we created this guide, which we'll love to share with you as well, Daryl. But it's something that we're seeing is really helping our audience and the people in our Facebook group too.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. It's one of the most important decisions you make is who you decide to share your life with. And if they're not supportive, you really have to, it's a really critical thing, is to get everyone on the same team. I think that's a powerful thing. If people want to learn more, where are some of the best ways for them to connect and get in touch?
Definitely, if you're a female coach or consultant, or you're aspiring to be one, you can just come and join us in the group. So it's Real Entrepreneur Women's Facebook group. You can check us out on our website at rewomen.com.au. And if you want access to any of the guides that I've mentioned, we also have a coaching business growth quiz that we created. This really helps people when they're not really sure how to identify where they're at, what they should focus on, what are some of the traps for their stage, and then also get a custom game plan based on where they're at. If they want access to that as well, just when you join the group, just mention it or fill out a form on our website and our team will send that straight across to you.
So it's RE for
Women.
Real Entrepreneur, rewomen.com.au. That's like RE for Real Entrepreneur Women. Go check out the Facebook group, Real Entrepreneur Women, or go to rewomen.com.au for Australia. Go check out the guide, get the Coach's Guide to Partner Support. You can also get some of the free stuff that they have in their programs. Go check them out. Sophie, you've been a wonderful guest. This has been a great interview. I've got a couple pages of notes. I really encourage people to listen to this more than once to make sure they get all the nuts and bolts out of this. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with my audience. And I know you got your own 30,000 female entrepreneurs that you could address, your own team, your own family, your kids, your own following. Thank you so much for sharing with my audience and I, so we could all do better.
Yeah, it's really my pleasure. Thank you so much, Daryl, for having me. And I hope that something that I've shared inspires someone to dream a little bit bigger and to go a little bit harder. 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 Harder.